will be led by Linda Scribner, who is the chair of the Healthcare Quality Certification Commission, which is the governing body of the CPHQ exam. We will start with a presentation. The slide deck is loaded on the WebEx, and you should be able to view it there. Also, we will be emailing handouts out after the presentation. At the end of this session, we will do a question and answer session. However, if you have questions during the presentation, you can submit those on the chat panel, and we will answer those during the Q&A session. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Linda. Thanks, Linda.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Happy Halloween. I hope you're having a great day wherever you are located. I think there are a lot of people on the call, so we're going to try to be efficient and move through the slides and leave time for questions. So please feel free to use the chat box at the bottom to put your question in, and then we'll get some instructions at the end of the session as well on asking questions. So thank you for joining us today. A little bit about what we want to accomplish. This is just kind of a brief overview for you on what is the CPHQ certification and what is the relationship to that, to NAHQ. Look at some of the benefits of having the CPHQ certification, and then at a very high level we'll cover some of the content exam, process for the examination, and what are some resources that you may want to use to help prepare for the exam. One of the things that I enjoy about having this professional credential is it really is a mark of excellence and professionalism. The CPHQ is one of the only sort of all-encompassing credentials out there, and it's recognized both nationally and internationally. It's one of the only healthcare quality certification that covers a wide range of all the services that a quality professional may deal with. Some of the areas of competency that are covered on the exam include leadership and management, performance improvement, information management, and patient safety. We are accredited by the National Commission on Certifying Agencies, the NCCA, not to be confused with the football programs, but it is a certifying agency for a lot of national credentials. It is an extension of the accreditation arm of the Institute for Credential Excellence, or ICE. So just like a lot of us that work in healthcare have a lot of regulatory standards to meet, we also have standards and regulations that we have to meet to make sure that our credential stays accredited. We have been fully accredited since 1988, and we go through that recertification process for accreditation about every 5 years. And we just did that a couple of years ago, so we're in a current cycle right now. We do have some, just a sidebar, is there will be some standards changing coming out in 2016, but we've already taken a preview of what those are, and they're not going to be significantly different, just a little bit of tweaking on some of the language. So we are not anticipating any major changes related to the change in standards for our accreditation process. Some of the benefits of being a CPHQ, it really is a demonstration of the continuous improvement of you as an individual quality leader. It's a recognition that you have a body of knowledge that represents competency in the quality profession, both knowledge and skills. It's also, like I said, for me, it was a personal success for me to be able to sit for the exam a few years ago, as well as I think it's really contributed to my professional advancement. A lot of us that move into quality move into quality from a clinical background. I am not a clinician. So one of the things for me on a professional advancement, the credential has been that mark of distinction, as we talk about, that says I do know quality and quality improvement and regulatory and leadership. So for me, it's been a real personal advantage. Everybody will have their own reason for sitting and for the exam, but it was really a personal best for me to be able to sit and take that exam and have that validation. It is the competency that we talk about around some of those 4 content and domain areas, and it really helps us advance the prestige of healthcare quality. Those of us that have worked in healthcare quality for a while know how important it is to our organizations, and that hasn't necessarily always gotten the recognition it deserves, but over the last several years and into the future, quality is a major player at the table in a lot of healthcare decisions and a lot of what the focus of the future of healthcare is. So I think the credential is well placed to continue us on that track. So who are the CPHQs? Well, they're individuals that, healthcare quality professionals, individuals who are demonstrating competency of quality principles. The exam looks at the understanding of program development, management of competence, in concepts and skills for team management, coordination of external survey processes, communication and education techniques, departmental management, because a lot of us end up moving into maybe from a coordinator role to a team leader to a manager to a director and on. So it's a credential that spans all the continuum of a professional development pathway for a quality professional. Excuse me. We have a lot of CPHQs, and we have a lot of retention of people with the CPHQ. Once they get the credential, they recognize that it does add value to them personally and professionally and retain that. So this slide demonstrates kind of our overall. We have right now at the end of, we do our statistics on an annual basis, so we won't have our 2014 statistics until early next year, but we are on track to continue our retention and growth of the CPHQ. There's currently over 8,000 CPHQs, and you can see by the graphic that we actually had a bump in retention in the 2013 year of around probably about 6,800 of those were recertified CPHQs. So how do you get started? Well, one thing that you can do is, and many of you probably already have, is out on the website, which is listed here on the slide, and the slides will be made available for you after the program as well. But you can download the CPHQ handbook. And in the handbook, you can find a lot of the answers to questions that you may have. What's included in the content outline? What's included in each section of that content outline? So what exactly is included in the performance improvement? You can find that in the content outline. Once you've been a successful candidate for the exam and passed the exam, information in there about the recertification process is also outlined for you. Some of the things that we do to make sure that the CPHQ stays a valid and respected credential is we want to do a content validity check. And the way we have set that up is every 3 years we conduct a job analysis survey. Current CPHQs will get a survey questionnaire about every 3 years. And things that we're looking for is we're looking for kind of that survey of the continuum across all healthcare settings, across all types of different healthcare quality practitioners. We look at the subject categories. We don't really ask a lot of scan for the future, although there will be some questions of that in there because we need to see where the profession is moving. If everybody's moving to Lean and Six Sigma, then there may be content changes that need to be made in certain sections of the exam. Those are some of the questions that get asked and get analyzed as a part of the job analysis survey. I don't know how many of you on the call have ever participated in that job analysis survey, but I would encourage you as you look to this exam and then in the future become a CPHQ, when you get that job analysis, please take the few minutes that it will to complete that and provide the feedback. It helps us look at the practice, as I said, and then the results and recommendations get incorporated into updates in the content exam. A few years ago, some of the feedback that came back related to the regulatory compliance piece, which had been limited in the past. And so based on that, there were some changes made in both the content outline and in the test the last time this was conducted. So it is very important data for us to make sure that we have that ongoing validity and competency. The current content exam falls into outline and exam questions fall into 4 major areas: patient safety, performance improvement measurement, information management, and then management and leadership. So you can see by far the patient safety, information management, and overall quality measurement and improvement make up the bulk of the exam. Some of the breakdown within those sections include these things that are on the slide, and again, there will be more detail in that handbook that you can download from the website. But you see in management and leadership, there's a couple of topics related to really operational efficiency in a program, some strategic management. Information management talks about, as you might expect, design and collection, how you measure and do analysis of the data that you have, how you communicate those results, and then how you plan for improvement based on that information that you've collected from your data. And then education and training is also a big part, as you all know, of the measurement and improvement. And then one of the other things that changed a few years ago from the job analysis was the need to make sure that we incorporate patient safety. As more and more, it's a split. I think there's a kind of a tug of war sometimes between risk and quality about, you know, where does patient safety live? And the reality is it lives with all of us. And so there are some components of patient safety that are included in the content outline and on the exam. This is a distribution of the U.S. versus international candidates. You can see by far we have many more in the United States, but we do have a pretty strong contingent of international candidates on a regular basis. So how do you get ready? And again, this is a lot of personal preference in how you study for an exam, what are the different resources that are going to make you successful. But some of the things that we have to offer are Q solutions, which kind of take you through each of those content areas. And then there are other references and bibliographies within each of these sections of study that may help you to set a course for how you want to study for the exam. There are a number of live and self-study review courses that you can also attend. We have actually a list of NAHQ approved instructors for the CPHQ that do courses throughout the country. A lot of the states will sponsor a CPHQ review course. There's also a self-assessment exam that you can gain access to. I think the self-assessment exam has around 65 or 70 questions on the exam, on the self-assessment. And what it will do is let you perhaps help focus your studies. If you're really strong in data management, you may not need to concentrate quite so much on that from a study perspective as you might on the performance improvement, facilitating teams, getting your results out and educating. So it's a way, another way that as an individual you can help tailor your own learning needs. There's an additional list of resources that can be found on the CPHQ website as well, and that reference is there in the slides for you. So how do I take the exam? Once you've done all of that, you've made the commitment, you've set the goal that before December 31st this year, I'm gonna do it. Our exam is actually administered by a group called AMP, Applied Measurement Professionals. They are the source for administering many different certification exams across the country. What they do is they set up different testing locations, both domestic and international. And once you are interested in signing up and taking the exam, you'll be, one of the things will be is giving you a list of testing locations within your area. A lot of times these locations will be at like a Sylvan Learning Center or an H&R block or something like that where they have testing center availabilities. The exam itself is computer-based. Each exam includes 15 questions that we consider pre-testing and are not included in the final scoring. All the questions included in the final score have been pre-tested for quality and accuracy at some time in the past. You have 3 hours to complete the exam. And it's an instant, like many exams, online exams now, you get an instant pass-fail score. So what's on the exam? Well, I can't tell you every question that's on the exam, but I can tell you how the distribution of questions are set up on the exam to test different levels of learning. There's a percentage of questions that are recall questions. That's really just kind of spitting back the specific facts and concepts. There are more application questions where you have to interpret or apply the information, and then a certain number of analysis questions that ask you to evaluate, solve a problem, integrate information. People get because there's a data management component in the content outline that, as you may remember on that slide, is a little weightier than maybe the management and leadership. People get very concerned that they're going to have to spend a lot of time with a calculator in the exam. You do not have to bring, a Texas Instrument engineer's calculator to the exam. I want to put you at ease. You might need a calculator. I need a calculator all the time. I have like 3 within reaching different on my desk. But the questions that are on the exam related to the analysis or related to data are going to be things that you can solve fairly easily with a very simple calculator. People get very concerned about that, and I want to assure you that if I can do it, because I am not I'm a data person, but I am not a math wizard, that you will have no trouble with that on the exam. What I wanted to do here was just, and it works well in live. I don't know how it'll work here, but I want to give you a couple of examples, and you kind of sit there quietly, so I'm not going to ask you to shout it out because I'm also a horrible test taker, so I know that all of us have different levels of test anxiety. But I wanted to just go through a couple of examples here of, I said there would be recall, analysis, and application questions. So just to give you a flavor of the kinds of things that you would see. So which of the following types of budgets itemize the major equipment to be purchased in the next year? And you have 4 choices. And the test is multiple choice. So you're going to be given 4 or 5 answers in each question from which to select. So capital, variable, operating, or zero-based for budgets that require major equipment to be purchased in the next year. So everybody has the right answer, right? Okay, so that's your capital budget. That's your large purchases over a certain dollar amount where there's usually a big pot and everybody has to get a little piece of the pie. So an application example. I'm going to read the question for you and just let you look at the answers there for a minute. The separate services of pharmacy and nursing are having difficulty developing an action plan for medication errors. Pharmacy services states that nursing services causes the majority of the problems related to the errors, while nursing service states the opposite. The quality professional's role in resolving this is to do what? And then you have 4 choices. Give you a minute to look at those. Okay. So the best answer for this is facilitate discussion between the groups, enable them to assume ownership of their portions of the problem. Okay, let's look at an analysis example. The following represents 2 samples of 5 hospital hysterectomy rates per 1,000 women aged 40 to 60 years of age. Hospital A, you have the rates, the mean, they're not exactly lined up on the slide there, and the standard deviation, and the same for Hospital B. In analyzing this information, it can be concluded, what can be concluded? And there are your 4 choices. Okay. So the correct answer there is that Hospital A has more variability than sample B. So 3 quick examples of tests. So you've taken the test, you've passed the test, what next? Well, you get to begin immediately using the CPHQ designation, and you'll get all the appropriate, documents and everything in the mail for you to share with your employer or whomever you'd like to share with. Recertification is required every 2 years, and then there is a code of ethics that we adhere to. That's also, listed, I believe, in the handbook for you. Recertification, again, I mentioned it's every 2 years. The cycle ends on December 31st. You have to have all of your hours completed and log in to the online system and record all of your hours by December 31st. It requires 30 hours of continuing education, and we ask you to make sure that your continuing education topics relate to the exam outline. I know sometimes we may struggle because we may go to a national conference like an IHI or a managed care or a ACHE conference. We don't ask you to categorize, and most conferences don't give us individual contact hours or credit based on the sessions that we attended. But I know, for example, if I'm going to IHI, I look at the courses that I selected to attend, and I decide if the bulk of those courses fit in patient safety, data management, or performance improvement. So this is really a disciplined process for you when you do your recertification and you go online to put those in. But we do try to make sure that you're staying competent in what you were initially received your certification for, and ask you to bucket your items when you apply for your continuing education recertification. If you fail to recertify by the deadline, you forfeit your certification and you have to retake the exam. We do try to send a reminder out 6 months in advance, and there's constant reminders on the CPHQ website if this happens to be your recertification cycle to not forget the deadline. But it is all of our individual responsibilities to make sure that we keep up our certifications. And a lot of us have a lot of different certifications, so I know sometimes it can be difficult. I put one of the things I've learned over the years, because one year I was filling it in on December 30th or 31st, and because of life events that had happened. So now I start putting it on my calendar about 6 months ahead of time. So about July, I just start putting appointment reminders out for myself to go in and make sure that I'm keeping it up, that I've got the hours that I need so that I'm not stuck at the last minute. And with that, that takes us through, the overview we wanted to cover for you, and I'm going to turn it back over to Jessica or Emma and see what questions we have to answer.
All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the questions from the Q&A portion from the WebEx, and either myself or Linda will answer those for you. If you have additional questions, please use the chat function on WebEx to submit your questions. We have too many people on the call to be able to facilitate those live, so please add those in. If you have additional questions after this session that didn't get answered, please email those to info@cphq.org. So we'll start here with the first question. The first question was, what is the passing rate for this certification? So I'll go ahead and answer that. And just for your information, I'm Jessica Weglars. I'm the Senior Operations Manager for the Healthcare Quality Certification Commission. So the passing rate for the certification year-to-date for 2014 is 71%. That means that 71% of the people who are sitting for the exam are passing it. A lot of people confuse this with the passing score that is needed. We do not publish the passing score, as it often it changes periodically based on the current exam that is out, and we do a very thorough study to determine what the passing score is so that this does remain a verified, valid credential. So we do not publish that passing score. All right, let me find the next question. Someone asked, when can I get the course and for how long? So I'm assuming that you're asking about the CPHQ review course. We offer that as both live and online self-study versions. The next live version is January 27th through 28th, and that is taking place in New Haven, Connecticut. You can find information about that on NAHQ's event calendar at NAHQ.org. Also, the self-study product is available on our website. If you go to CPHQ.org and follow the resources list for preparation, you can find how you access that. Once you do sign up for that session or that product, you have 1 year to access the product and use the self-study video modules. Let's see. Okay, someone asked, I have the 26th edition of the Healthcare Quality Handbook, 2011/2012. Is that version too old to use? Linda, I'll pass that on to you.
It is. I'm going to say that it's another resource that you can use. Q Solutions is the recommended text that we have and that we recommend for studying for the exam. So I can't say if that's the most up-to-date. It is a very good resource that you can use, and we have one, for example, in our department because it's a great reference for new people coming into the department. But we also have Q Solutions so that for our staff who are looking to take the exam, we direct them to Q Solutions. And it really just depends, again, on your personal preference. If you feel comfortable with exams, if you've been in the field of practice for a while, Q Solutions is going to be that quick study, help you focus on specific areas. If you're new to the profession, the other resource is going to give you a lot from the ground up how to do. So it's going to depend on your individual style, but Q Solutions is the recommended NAHQ product.
So the next question is, there are no questions within these resource books to review with each chapter. Do you suggest using the self-exam questions instead? Yes. So the self-assessment exam can be purchased online through NAHQ.org, and that will be a model exam for you to take. It is processed through AMP as well, so the actual exam style will be the same as when you take your actual CPHQ exam, and you receive a report after you finish that self-assessment exam that will give you an analysis of how you did, what areas you did well, and what areas you need to focus on. So that is a great resource for finding questions that are very similar to content that is included on the exam. So then the next question is, who can I contact to answer my questions after completing the preparatory course to make sure from the correct answers? So with the self-assessment exam, you will receive information about the questions that you answered correctly and incorrectly to help you prepare from that. The next question is, when a candidate has sat for the exam and they receive their scores on site, are those scores official or unofficial scores? You will receive an automatic report of your scores, and it will say if you did pass or not, or if you did achieve a passing score or not. Those are unofficial scores, and you will receive your official credentialing packet within 4 to 6 weeks following the close of the month that you took the exam. So until you receive your official certificate, your letter, your ID card, you are not allowed to use the credential just based on your passing score sheet that you receive at the testing site. But again, 4 to 6 weeks following the close of the month that you took the exam, you will receive your official packet and then can begin using the credential. Let's see. Okay, another question was, can continuing ed hours be used interchangeably? For example, same submitted for nursing licensure, case management, etc. Linda, do you want to answer that question?
Well, I will try and I will ask for help. I think most of the time that is true, as long as you've got a valid certificate that tells you, what were the hours awarded for that. You may want to, if it doesn't say CPHQ approved, a lot of places now are also submitting their content to us for approval of CPHQ hours. I usually just say if I'm going to something that isn't a CPHQ approved, I make sure that I save like the brochure and the objectives so that when I do the recertification, if there's ever a question that comes back to me in the recertification process about more detail, I at least have the name of the course, the objectives, and kind of the content outline of that course. I didn't mention this in the slides, but we do a validation sample every year of our recertification participants to make and ask for some of that more in-depth documentation if it's unclear. So it's kind of like when you're selected to be, number 51 out of the line to answer some questions. So we do some validation on our recertification process to ensure that we're adhering to the standards and that we are definitely validating hours.
So just to piggyback on that as well, all CE hours do not have to be approved CPHQ CE hours, as long as the content that you're trying to use for your CE aligns with the current CPHQ content outline. You can use those towards your CPHQ recertification. So the next question is, when can I start earning CEs towards my recertification if I have passed the exam? So once you pass the exam, you cannot start earning CE until the next calendar year. So if you sat for the exam today on October 31st of 2014, you can begin earning your CE on January 1st of 2015. And then you will have until December 31st of 2016 to earn all 30 credit hours, and then you must apply for your recertification before December 31st of 2016. But you have to wait until the January 1st of the next calendar year to start earning your CE. Let's see. Looking for the next question. Is there an option on the testing that if you pass a category of information but not another, can you retake part of the test for a less cost than the entire amount that it takes to take it the first time? No, we do not offer the exam in segments, so you have to reach a passing score on the entire exam, or else you have to resit for the full exam. And there is not a discounted rate to resit for the exam a second time. So the next question is, in 2015, the content of the exam changes. Will the references be updated in 2015 as well, i.e., will there be a 4th edition of the Q Solutions released? Q Solutions, the 3rd edition, will still remain the primary resource for CPHQ prep. The content outline changes are not significant in that the content will be changing. There is some shift in percentage of the domains and what are covered, but content-wise, there's not a drastic change that you would need to change the materials that you're using to be studying from. In 2015, we will update the resource list as we do an annual audit of that list. And so there may be additional resources added to the list in 2015, but what's available now will still be relevant for the new exam being released in 2015. Linda, do you have anything to add to that?
No, that's a pretty thorough explanation. And again, it was some subtle shifts in some of the weighting in some of those categories. There was not really a lot of content change in the revisions for 2015. Great.
The next question is, must one pass each section of the exam, or is the passing score based on the test as a whole? The passing score is based on the test as a whole. So there's 125 scored questions, and there is a certain passing rate based on the full exam. So it's not per category. It's based on all 125 questions. The next question, I found some question in different tutors' questions, has 2 correct answers, which makes me confused. I don't think I fully understand that question, but I think I did see a previous question asking if any of the questions on the exam have more than 1 correct answer. And no, there is only 1 correct answer. There may be answers that seem that they could be correct, but there is only 1 best correct answer. Linda, do you have anything to add to that?
I mean, that's always a question, and that's where one of my my test phobias come from. Is there will be there will be times when you have 2 potentially correct answers. The purpose of the question is to get at what is the best answer for that question. We've tried to, as our test development team has worked over the years, we've really tried to eliminate that type of marked confusion. So hopefully that will continue to evolve, but there will always be a certain number of us who go, well, we could answer it this way or this way, but you're really looking for what is the best answer, and there is only 1 answer that is correct.
The next question is the pass rate of 71% for U.S. test takers only, or a combination of the U.S. and international? The 71% was for all test takers. The current year-to-date pass rate is 82%. This varies, and so I wouldn't use this as a strong indicator for the exam. Last year, for 2013, the U.S. pass rate was 71%. So this varies throughout the year. So just keep that in mind when thinking about that statistics. The next question is the Q solution material enough as a study resource, or it is recommended to use other available resources? Linda, do you want to take that question?
I will try. And again, a lot of this is going to be based on your personal style. For me, Q Solutions wasn't available when I took the test, but I've worked with my staff over the years, and for the majority of them, Q Solutions is enough because they have enough experience in the field. And then there are references on the website, as we mentioned, and there's a bibliography in each of the sections of Q Solutions. So you can always go to more resources from your bibliography and things like that. So again, I think it's a lot going to be based on your individual style. I think you can get into too many resource overload and then you begin to get conflicting information. So I think you assess your own personal style, you look at the references that are out on the website and maybe the bibliography at the end of the sections in Q Solutions, and try to determine what's going to give you the best information for you to feel successful in that particular domain.
The next question is, what is the level of detail discussed during the in-person CPHQ training course? I would say that it is a high-level overview of the CPHQ exam. It is only a 2-day course, so they cannot go in-depth on every type of question and all the material that you need to know. It helps you understand what areas are covered on the test, what types of questions and the composition of them are covered. But as far as detailed training in healthcare quality and really understanding the concepts of healthcare quality, it's not going to do that for you. So, you do need to have a thorough understanding of healthcare quality and probably do other studies aside from just the training course. Linda, anything to add on that?
No, I think that covered it.
Okay, next question is, the speaker mentioned 3 topics for CE after achieving CPHQ, data management, patient safety, and what was the third? So actually, it's based on all 4 domains of the CPHQ exam. So as long as your CE fits with any topic on the content outline, that is acceptable.
Correct. I'm sorry if I misled someone. All four domains are where you can look for your continuing education as a part of your recertification process. So that would be, management, leadership, performance improvement, measurement, data management, and patient safety. So some pretty broad range areas there.
The next question was, is there an earlier prep course other than January? And right now, that's the next scheduled live course, but you can do the online self-study course at any time. The next question says, what about the CPHQ secret book? We are not aware of that book, and it is not a NAHQ-endorsed product or HQCC endorsed product for preparing for the CPHQ. There are a lot of resources out on the internet that claim to help you prepare for the CPHQ exam. The only courses and or content that are endorsed or approved by HQCC are listed on our website. So whenever you see anything out there, you can always check our resource list to see if it is an approved resource. Okay, next question. If I cannot make the live review course in January in New Haven, when will the NAHQ website post the other live course locations in 2015? Right now they're not scheduled, and that's why they are not posted. And so as those become available, then we will post them on the NAHQ website. Okay, the next question. Were the example questions in today's presentation indicative of the level of difficulty of exam questions, or were they used solely to represent the 3 different types of questions? Linda?
I'm not sure I know the answer to that, but I think they are indicative of the types of questions that you will see on the exam.
Great. The next question is, how often is the self-assessment exam product updated? If I've taken it once, will the questions be different the second time around? We just recently updated the self-assessment exam in September. So if you took it prior to September, you could download it, or you could purchase the new resource, and there would be different questions on there. There may still be some questions from the previous self-assessment exam, but I would say the majority of them are different and would be helpful. We don't have a specific timeline that we do update that. It's when we feel that either some of the questions are no longer relevant or that there is significant new content that we want to make sure is reflected in the self-assessment exam. But you could always check in and see if there is a new product available, and we could let you know that. But it was just updated in September, so I do not foresee it being updated within the next year. What about the Janet Brown book? The Janet Brown book is on the resource list for CPHQ prep resources. Let's see, next question, clarifying question. Please clarify when CPHQ credentials can be used, directly after passing the exam versus 4 to 6 weeks with the arrival of official documents. Yes, you must wait the 4 to 6 weeks until you receive the official documents to be able to start using the CPHQ credential. The report that you get at the exam center is not an official report, so until you do receive your official credentialing packet, you cannot begin to use the credential. Next question, if a person does not pass the exam, how long must they wait to retake the exam? So you can only take the exam once every 90 days. So from the day that you sit, if you fail the exam, you have to wait 90 days to reapply to take the test. And also, starting in 2015, you will only be allowed to take the test 3 times in a calendar year. So keep that in mind as well. So 90 days after you take the exam, you can then reapply. The next question is, what are the changes in percentages of testing material for 2015? If you look on cphq.org and click on Content Outline, there are both content outlines published currently, one for 2014 and one for 2015. So I don't have those percentages off the top of my head right here, but they are published in the content outline. So you can check cphq.org and find the new content outline listed there. Okay. Next question, experience plays a big part of people judgment in choosing how to address situations. What standard is being used to decide which is the best answer? Linda, do you want to answer that? Maybe I can try.
I'll try, but that's why we have AMP, the Applied Measurement Professionals, and statisticians working on that. Our test development team works on the questions and then works with our AMP professionals to make sure that both the question is clear and that the answers have all the right lead-ins, modifiers, to make sure that it's not going to be confusing.
Great. Next question is, do the test questions get more difficult as the questions are being answered correctly? No, the exam questions are set ahead of time, so it is not a weighted exam based on if you're answering correctly or not. There's different forms of the exam out at all times, so if you and a friend take the exam on the same day, you may not actually have the same exact questions, but they are set ahead of time, so they aren't altered based on how you're performing. Another question is, do the Q Solutions resources include practice questions in the booklets? Linda, do you know the answer to that?
I don't think so. In the Q, let me pull one of my Q Solutions, but I don't think so.
I don't believe so as well. It gives you good information about the content, but I don't think there are practice questions in there. Q Solutions is also just a general reference book for healthcare quality professionals, as well as being a good preparatory material for the exam. So if you're looking for practice questions, the self-assessment exam is the best place to get that. Also with the, publishing questions in the book, that's difficult to do because the content outline is ever shifting, and we want to make sure that it's relevant. And so by having printed questions, that doesn't allow us to keep up on that. The question is, where's the list of exam dates/locations for 2015 located? So you can take the exam at any time throughout the year at a variety of locations. And so on our website, there is a link to AMP's list of testing centers. The exam is available 365 days a year minus major holidays when the testing centers are closed. So we don't have a testing window that you have to take the exam on certain dates or specific locations. So through our website, you can find the list of locations that is offered. It's in basically every major city throughout the United States, and you can take them on any day except for major holidays. Okay, I think I've gotten through the majority of questions on the Q&A list. Again, if you have additional questions that weren't answered in this session, you can send those to info@cphq.org. We will be sending out the PowerPoint to those in attendance today, so you'll have this as a reference for you. And then a lot of your questions can be answered in the candidate handbook that is located on cphq.org. So thank you, Linda, for presenting this morning, and hope everyone has a wonderful Halloween, and good luck with your preparations for the CPHQ. So,
thank you.
Thank you for joining us.